Welcome to Becoming Parents podcast. I'm Jen Taylor, your host. I am mom of 18, and you can find me on momsrunningit.com. Remember, give a shout out to those who are brave enough to share their stories with us on how they have become parents. Let's dive right in. All right. And we always have this double feedback. Welcome. I'm so excited because today I have on a past podcast guest, which I always really love, and I get to know you better. Karina, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Very busy, keeping busy, staying in the house, hiding from the outside world. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Good. Today we're going to talk, obviously, you've had two experiences, and you were really funny when we got on and started talking and said, hi again. Hi, how are you? You're like, I thought I had a half an hour for each one of my kids. And I'm like, nope, nope, you don't. So you've had two deliveries. They've been significantly different. Why don't you jump right in with the first one? Because the first one you said you had surprises, and I actually have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I didn't want to give it out. I didn't want to give you the spoiler. I thought, oh, she'll have to have me on the show now to find out what it is.
Exactly. That's the way it should be.
My first daughter was born on the 11th of November 2004. And she was 2 kilos, 450 pounds. I'm not sure what that is in your measurements over in the US.
Okay.
She was small. So let's start. So I'm diabetic, and over here they are they freak out when it comes to pregnancy and the birth and diabetes. So they go the lazy route and do a C-section. Whether you want one or not, you're getting a C-section because you're diabetic. So I wasn't happy with going to the local hospital. I saw them throughout the pregnancy, and I saw private gynecologists as well throughout the pregnancy, and my diabetes was looked after and everything. And then we went over and we saw a doctor over in on the mainland Greece, because I'm on the island of Corfu. I should have mentioned that. So we went over to a university hospital over on the mainland Greece, and we saw a doctor there, the surgeon, and the actual place where the women were staying, waiting for their babies, was like a hotel.
Okay.
And he wanted me to go in about 2 weeks before I was due, so I could get comfortable there, get my diabetes under control. And then I was having the child earlier than a normal birth anyway, because it was a C-section. So I was, let's do this. I'm happy to stay there 2 weeks and just chill. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, because 2 weeks before I was due to go on a boat over to the mainland, my waters broke.
So that was about 4 weeks early?
How early? 4 weeks, exactly. It was 4 weeks early. And because I'd never been pregnant before, I'd never had a baby before, I didn't know if it was my waters broke. So I phoned up my best friend, who was also going to be my birth partner, and I told her the description, and she said, yeah, your waters have broken, or they're breaking because you're dripping. And she says, you need to get down to hospital. So then my husband seemed to think that I had time to get onto a ferry, go over to mainland Greece, and then drive to the university hospital before the baby came. So he phoned up the doctor, and the doctor said, no, you haven't got time to do that. You need to get it down to the local hospital as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm painting me nails. He's gone for a shower. No, we're not panicking, water's just broken, but we're not panicking. I have my bag there ready. We go into the car, we get to the hospital. I'm told to strip off so he can quickly examine me. And I hear my brother-in-law's voice. Now, my husband's brother is a doctor, and he was working at the local hospital as a surgeon. And
okay. You literally heard his voice. Okay, go ahead.
I literally heard his voice. So,
okay.
So that freaked me out a little bit. He didn't do the examination, thank God. The big man did. And he said, yeah, right, she's ready. So, you know, she's gonna, the baby's gonna go. I'm gonna say, well, if my waters are broken, why can't I do a natural birth? No, C-section. I was ready. I could have done a natural birth, but they're so lazy. C-section. Okay, whatever. So I'm laying there in this room by myself, and they've got me stuck up with me, things on my tummy and the lines going through. And she comes up and she says, oh, look, you just had a contraction. I went, that's a contraction. I've had that for 24 hours. I've had that since yesterday. I thought it was just normal pregnancy pains. You know, first time mother, I knew absolutely shit. So she said, no, that's the contraction. I was like, oh, wow. Again, contraction, waters broke. Why can't I have a normal birth? Anyway, she started shaving me down below, dry shaving. Why they couldn't have found some shampoo from somewhere or shaving mousse or whatever, dry shaving. And then they started taking toenail polish off my toes. And then the surgeon came and he said, why are you doing that? Leave it. It doesn't matter. And I was like, that's so stupid. Anyway, so then they put me on the trolley, and I know that I'm going off now. I know that I'm going off to have my baby. And I'm like, where the hell is my husband? He'd only gone off to phone up all the relatives to say I was having the baby, to come down to the hospital. I didn't get to say goodbye to him before I went up. And they took away my wedding ring and they took away my cross. And I was freaking out. I tell you, I was shivering. My body was literally shivering like this, shaking, because I was so cold and so scared. And I couldn't say goodbye to my husband. And they took the two things off me that I really needed. And I felt like I had no protection after that was taken from me. So then they take me in, and they've got my arms like this on two armrests, and they've got the drips in to keep an eye on, one for the sugar levels and one for the IV for something else. And then I've got nothing on except that blue paper smock thing. So then they put the, is it detergent, antibacterial orange, what's it called?
Like betadine?
That's the one, thank you.
Okay.
I put the betadine over the stomach ready, and lo and behold, I hear my brother-in-law's voice. And I am sitting there, everything showing, I'm totally naked, and I hear my brother-in-law's voice. And I'm like, fuck it, he's seen it, just go with it. There's nothing you can do about it.
I mean, really, there's not. Plus, it is what he does. I mean,
But I wasn't supposed to have the baby then. He wasn't supposed to be at the local hospital when I went there. You know, it was like, it's what you call fate and destiny. It just played out that way.
right.
So, yeah, when I heard him, I gulped. I was like, and then I went, screw it. He's here. He's going ahead with doing what he has to do. He's seen me now. Can't do anything about it.
Right.
So then they put the gas on and I was out. When I came to, I was looking for my baby, and my baby wasn't anywhere near me. And I was in a room with three other Greek sort of middle-aged women, mothers. And then I think the Spiros was there, and I said, "What? You know, everyone came in. All of his family came in. I'm just coming out of this dizziness and sickness and starting to feel pain, and everyone's coming in congratulating me, and I'm like, don't congratulate me because I don't have her. Where is she? She was taken into an incubator because she was too low in weight. She was too small, and she was born early. Excuse me, I'm losing my face. So she was taken away in an incubator, and the incubator wasn't anywhere near me. and I couldn't get out of bed and go and see her. So I had all of his relatives that all lived in the town come in, congratulate me. And I just got really angry in the end. I was like, I don't want to know. I said to my husband, go and take a bloody photo of her and bring me the phone so I can see my daughter. 14 hours before I got her in my hands. 14 hours. It was so upsetting. I knew they were saying what was happening and that she wasn't feeding either. She wasn't taking the bottle. And they said, maybe we'll try having you hold her, and maybe she'll feed that way. And she did straight away. As soon as she was in my arms, she on my chest, skin to skin. And then she fed from the bottle because I couldn't breastfeed. It just 14 hours of everyone just coming up and saying, oh, congratulations, she's beautiful. I was like, don't want to hear it. I want to see her. I want to hold her. So then I find out that actually it was his brother-in-law, my brother-in-law, his brother, that actually cut the cord and took the baby. Which
a surprise.
Which after made me feel so wonderful, because it made them have a really strong connection. Your uncle took you from your mummy's tummy. I mean, how often does that happen? And the thing about it, when I was in the ward, because of who I was to him and because of who he was, I was looked after like a queen. I got royal treatment in there compared to the other ladies around. And when they said, oh, we're going to try and get you out of bed now, try and get you moving, and I was like, great, let's do this. I was bending over when I couldn't bend because of the C-section, but I was bending over, changing her for the first time, and the nurses came in and they looked at me and I'm like, I don't understand why others can't do what you're doing. They just lay in bed lazy and refuse to get up and just let everybody else that's around look after their children. But you got out of bed, even if you're in pain, and you're doing everything that you should be doing. And why can't the other Greek mums be like that? But that was nice. That was a nice compliment. So, and then when I got in the car, when we were driving back, I had this bouquet sent to me from England by some friends, and I was half asleep and someone called my name, and I looked over and a massive bouquet, big balloon and a big teddy, and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. It's come all the way from the UK. So I'm sitting in the car, the baby's strapped in the back in its car seat, and I'm sitting in the car holding these flowers, and I just burst out crying. I just broke. Everything that happened, all the emotions, and he was like, what are you crying for? I'm so happy. So that's the first one.
I want to go back because there was something in the beginning where you were talking about, like, I understand that you're diabetic and there are different needs, but your water had broken, you're having contractions, you realize you've had them for 24 hours. Did anybody ever check you to see how far along you were, how dilated you were, and why? Why did that happen?
As soon as I came in, I said, strip off, get onto that bench, and we're going to check. And one look at me, one look down there, they said, yes, she's ready for the baby. And so then they put me in that room and they put the things on to see but no one talked to me. No one told me, how long I've got until the baby actually comes out and why I can't do any pushing myself. No one gave me that opportunity. No one spoke to me. And my husband never said anything. The doctors, who all spoke English, never said anything. The nurses, again, nothing. So I didn't have the opportunity to do a natural birth when I was actually ready to do a natural birth.
That's the stuff that makes me totally nuts and crazy and mad. But okay, so that was traumatic, not seeing your daughter for 15 hours and just not having a voice or a choice, having your husband gone. Tell me about number 2, because you'd already had a C-section and you're diabetic. I'm sure they wanted to schedule that.
Well, this is what happened when I was pregnant. Straight from the beginning, as soon as I found out, I think I was 3 or 4 weeks in, I started having really bad pains, and they got worse during the pregnancy, and I couldn't walk. I was in so much pain, and I had what they called SPD, where the pelvis bones have stretched. Have you heard of that before, Jen?
I don't think that I have.
Okay. Yeah, if you see if you see an x-ray of the pelvis, there's a tiny two bones, and apparently they'd moved and stretched, and that what was giving me all this pain.
Okay, got it.
Because of that, because of being diabetic, I decided I was going to go to England to have the baby. I thought I'll get looked after better, I'll get better treatment, especially for my SPD, and you know, it'll be a much better experience. Even though I had a good experience in the end with my first child, I didn't want to do that again. So everything was booked and I was ready to go. And my dad says, your uncle, who lives on his own, he broke his leg, and so he's living downstairs. He's got a bed set up in the living room downstairs of the house, and he can't get around by himself, and he can't live on his own, so he's staying with us. I was like, okay. And then he's off to Canada with my sister while I'm coming over for the baby. I think I have maybe a month to go before. So I'm there for about a month and a half over in the UK. I think. I'm not really good with my memory now. So I'm having problems because I'm stuck upstairs in this little room and I can't go up and down all the time. I can hardly walk. I'm in so much pain, and stairs are the worst thing for me. So I can't ask, my dad's not there. He's over in Canada with my sister. My mother-in-law, my stepmom, who's at the house, is working full time, also looking after my uncle. And I'm not the sort of person to say, you know, ring the bell and say, hey, can you bring me up or whatever? You know, I'll trot down there. And I was doing my own washing and everything. Nobody was helping me. Nobody. It was all left to me, even in the condition I was. My auntie Brenda, bless her, she's gone now, but my auntie Brenda was the one who's taken me to all my appointments. They're very, very strict with the diabetes over there. They phone you every day to find out your numbers. They're so good. And so I was having regular checkups for my diabetes and for the baby. And there was... I had a what do you call it? With the feet, something. It's called where they massage the feet, and it's they.
Oh, reflexology.
Thank you, reflexology. I booked one of those just to, you know, hopefully get some of the pain away, to be able to relax a little. So I booked one of those for myself. That didn't do bugger all, but there was this time where I think I was going for an appointment, or I was going out for some reason, and I never said goodbye to them while they were while my mother-in-law and my stepmom and my uncle were in the living room. I just left from the front door. And then my dad had a go at me and said, why didn't you say hello to them? So the next time that happened, it'd been raining outside. I was going straight, I came through the front door, I was going straight upstairs, and I thought, no, I'm not going to get in trouble again. So I went into the kitchen to go into the living room to say hello, and I slipped and I did total splits. And I could not move. I could not get myself up. I couldn't call for my uncle because he couldn't help me. He couldn't walk. I called for my stepmom to help me, and between us, we got myself up, and I was really worried now. I wanted to go to the hospital and have a checkup and make sure everything was okay, because that was a real fall, that was. And she says, are you okay? And I said, yeah, just come in. I'm going to go and lie down. Come and check on me in about an hour just to see if I'm all right. And she said she would. And now my dad's back from Canada, and my sister's still over there. My dad's back from Canada because my mother, my stepmom, has just been diagnosed with cancer. She just lost her 2 sisters and brothers in the last few months, and now she's diagnosed with it. So all of the attention was on Kay, which I totally understand. But at least I still had my auntie taking me and, making sure I was okay and what have you. By the time I was ready to have the C-section, I was in a wheelchair. I could not walk anywhere. I was in so much pain. And so my sister was back and she took me to the hospital, and I was having the C-section next day. And they were keeping an eye on my blood sugars and what have you. And then it was the evening before, and they said, let's see how your sugars are, because if they're not good, then we want to do the C-section early. And I said to them, look, it's going high, low, so let's do the C-section and get done. Oh, the first time I spoke to a midwife and said that I wanted a C-section, no, we don't do that here in the UK. I'm like, but I'm diabetic. She went, so you have a natural birth? I said, I've already had a C-section. So I really had to put my foot down to have another C-section. I didn't want to have a natural birth because I'd already done the C-section, and I preferred no pain. Well, it's to when you wake up, then you get pain, but no pain having the actual natural birth, wake up and your baby's there, So I finally got my own way, which they weren't happy about. And come the time I'm in this little room, which is where the surgery is happening, totally different from the big place I was in the first hospital. And the doctor comes over and he says, the surgeon, he says to his friend, do you remember how to do this? Oh, it's so long since we've done one. Do you remember what to do? And of course they were joking. But I mean, that didn't really, make me feel very...
a little disconcerting. Just pull up a YouTube video. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And he said, oh, we're just joking. And I was like, well, okay, you're joking, funny. But that's not funny. No, not at all. Especially when they don't do C-sections unless it's an emergency in the UK. Right. Someone to turn around and say, do you remember how to do it? I thought he was being serious.
Right.
So I start coming around, and I'm sort of halfway there and halfway out. And I remember someone saying, you've got a button in your hand. That's for morphine. If you're in pain, just press it. So I was like, dun, 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 dun. And I went out again, and I came round again. And when I came round the next time, I was a bit more awake, and I saw my sister holding my little girl, Alexia. And she'd been looking after Alexia while I've been out of it. And she stayed with me. I was a C-section in the UK, you're in and out, 2 days tops. I begged them to let me stay because I didn't want to go back to the house.
You were dealing with some other things, and I know this from our first interview. You were you'd had the chronic pain. You show up in a wheelchair. You're not in less pain after a C-section, although having the baby is probably helpful. But you'd going through cyberbullying at that time. And other than the cyberbullying, if I remember correctly, you had gotten divorced. Am I remembering correctly?
No.
You had not.
No. No.
Okay,
very
happily
married all the way through. No,
okay, that part is amazing.
I knew going back to the house, the way my dad had been treating me, I knew that going back to the house, I was on my own and I wouldn't have any help. And so I wanted to stay in the hospital as long as I could. And they allowed me to stay for a full week. And then they said, this isn't a hotel. This isn't a hotel. You have to come home. So I phoned my dad. I said, Dad, I'm being released. Can you pick me up? And that was the first time I'd spoken to him. He never even came down to see the baby. It was so hard because I was stuck in that little room with my daughter. I had, I'm not, like I said, I'm not the sort of person to go down and shout, can you bring something up? I feel bad, especially with everything that's going on in the house. We've got my uncle down there. We've got my stepmom dying of cancer. My dad just, all he thinks about is his wife. And then, so I'm on my own and I'm trying to cope as best as I can. And when the midwife comes and she comes inside and she knows the situation, she says, you've got to get out of this room. You've got to get out of this house. I hate saying negative things about anyone that's passed away, but I lost my dad as well to cancer. At the time, he hadn't been spending any time in the bedroom coming in to see the baby, coming in to see if I'm okay, nothing. And I had enough, you know, my stepmom hadn't even said hello to me. We were close, you know, I've known her for years since they got married. So something's going on, you know, this isn't. So I finally got him alone. And I got him to come in the bedroom. I said, I've got to speak with you. I said, what's going on? I said, Kay hasn't even come in to see the baby. And you're not making any effort as well. And God, it's so hard. He said that Kay said that me being pregnant and having the baby was going to cause her death. And it's like one life for another. And she was honestly felt that 100%, one life for another. And I turned to my dad and I said, you don't believe that, do you? And he said, yes.
Wow. I am so sorry.
Basically, my innocent, beautiful girl was being blamed for my stepmom's cancer. And I had some friends in just out of Northampton that I'm really close with when I went home every time I had to visit. And I need some tissue. I phoned them up and I told them what happened. They said, right, we're picking you up. Get everything you need for the baby and you're staying with us. And I was suffering from postnatal depression by then. I wasn't where I couldn't hold my child and felt bad about my child. I was just so depressed at the time. And when you're a newborn, you know, when you're a new mother, that's the last thing you need to be feeling. Barbara said when she saw me, she thought I looked like a zombie because I've had no help. I was up every 3 hours feeding and changing, looking after my little girl and doing everything that I shouldn't have been doing because of the C-section. And I was alone in that little room upstairs, alone in that house with no one visiting and no one giving a damn. And they took me, and thank God they did. She showed me straight to the bedroom. She said, get in there and sleep. But don't worry about Alexia. We will feed her. We will change her. You just sleep. Sleep as long as you need. I stayed with them, I think, for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. They helped me get Alexia's passport to go back to Greece, because the newborn baby flying and everything, she needed a passport. That wasn't even entered my head. That was the last thing in my head. Of course, I wanted to get home as soon as possible. I wanted to get back to Greece. I couldn't tell when I spoke with my husband on the camera, and he got to see his daughter from the camera. I didn't let him know what was going on over here. I didn't want him worrying, So Barbara and Barry, they were amazing. They looked after us. They looked after her. They took us shopping. They got me out the house, and they just let me relax and let me mentally and physically get back to who I was and ready to take over and be a mum. Both of them are not here anymore. Amazing people. They were like my second parents. And I lost Barbara to cancer about near the same time as I was over in the UK, because of my dad having stage 4 cancer. They both had lung cancer, both of them. And when she died, he lasted maybe a month, and he died just from missing her. He just gave up.
What a gift they gave you in that time that you really needed it, right? What a gift. And then
they were absolutely amazing. Yeah, they were amazing all the time, but especially that time, they knew what I needed. They knew how toxic the environment was for me and my daughter, and so they rescued me. They rescued me.
Moms who have just had a baby, so a lot of the time need to be rescued in one way or another. And I'm so thankful that in all of this, you had that and were able to get home and, just be with your husband and raise your kids and get through that depression after the baby was born. Because of course you felt that way.
Well, once I was back, I had to deal with all the other crap that was going on, as well as being a new mum and getting Alexia settled. Because of Sophie, she was an only child, and she was the one that wanted a brother or sister. And because I didn't want any jealousy between them, I said, right, you can name your brother or sister. And when we found out it was a girl, she said straight away, Alexia. So she actually named her sister, which was so beautiful.
That is. Karina, thank you for sharing.
They're so close. It's wonderful. They are so close. Even now, they're beautiful. One's my butterfly, one's my angel. I wouldn't do anything different. My girls are amazing. I love them so much. But yeah, it was 2 different experiences. The first one was funny, and the second one was not so funny.
Yeah, I'll take your brother-in-law over your living where you did any day of the week. Yeah. Karina, I have all of your links in the show notes. You are an author. I've read several of your books. Oh, yes, way back when. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your becoming parents journey with me. Thank you for being on.
No, thank you for having me.